Diaz, and I am the District Operations Manager for the Colorado State Conservation Board. And today we have one of our own. We have the Colorado Department of Agriculture's Urban Agricultural Program Specialist, Emma Hardiman. And she is going to provide an overview of urban ag, including definitions, real-world examples, and importance within communities. And she will also share how conservation districts can get involved in supporting urban growers in their area. If you have questions, we can put them in the chat and we'll address them at the end of the meeting, or when she's finished, just come off mute and we can start the conversation. And I'm gonna pass it over to Emma. Thank you, Emma.
Thanks, Raquel. Yeah, so welcome, guys. Thanks for joining. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Emma. I work as the Urban Ag Program Specialist at CDA, and my role is a little bit unique in that I do get to work to build a program for urban producers, but I also get to work with conservation districts as part of the Conservation Board team, just to kind of help districts support urban producers, as well as with NRCS. My role is a partner position with them, so I also help to advocate for the use of NRCS programs like EQIP and CSP amongst the urban ag community. So that's kind of a little bit about what I do. So today we're just going to go over what urban ag looks like and why it's important, just as well as where conservation districts fit in, and then just discuss a couple ways that you guys might be able to help support. So what even is urban ag, you might be wondering. I think if you ask one person, you're going to get one answer. If you're going to ask another person, you're going to get another answer. But it can kind of range, it seems like, from something as small as like a few pots on like an urban apartment patio to something like a strawberry farm, like in a warehouse, or even like a ranching operation in the suburbs. So get a lot of different thoughts on where things lie. And we don't currently have a programmatic definition at the state for urban agriculture. But what we've been primarily focused on the past year or so is really these smaller outdoor, like urban agriculture operations where the food is primarily grown for local consumption. And I think one misconception that comes along with this is that these farms have to be located in a large metro area. And we're really trying to kind of steer away from this like parameter, because we really believe that even areas that can be considered rural can benefit from these types of farms, and can benefit Coloradans who might have limited access to food. So that's kind of what we've been looking at. But obviously everyone kind of has their own definition, so it just kind of depends on who you talk to. So why do we care about urban ag, and why is it important? What type of purpose do these small farms provide? So they often kind of help foster connection between community members, increase access to fresh produce and other locally grown ag products in underserved communities, and they can help promote sustainable food systems as well. So socially, urban farms have been known to engage community members who might not otherwise understand where their food comes from. They help to build relationships within neighborhoods. They can increase the availability of local produce, and they can improve resilience and food security by keeping foods local. And then from a conservation perspective, urban farms can also help reduce greenhouse gas emissions that are related to shipping food long distances. They can create wildlife corridors, pollinator pathways, and green spaces that might not otherwise exist in specific communities. They can improve the urban heat island effect, where the temperature rises like crazy in these urban areas where there's like a lot of concrete and not a lot of green or plant growth. And then they can help remediate soil contamination and improve soil health. And they can make use of abandoned or undervalued land by turning it into a place where people can kind of congregate and enjoy and also just grow food, which wasn't happening before. And this is just a quote from Commissioner Kate on the importance of urban ag. So she stated, urban agriculture plays a crucial role in building resilient and equitable food systems. By keeping people connected with agriculture and understanding where their food comes from, urban gardens and farms foster community connections, enrich our cities, and can provide real economic opportunity for innovative business people. So, what does this look like in Colorado, and where do we see this? I just have a few examples that I figured I could go over. The first one that I thought of was growing gardens in Boulder. This farm is actually special to me because this is where I did my research in grad school. So it's just easy for me to talk about. But in Boulder, Growing Gardens manages 3 main farm sites. 2 are in Longmont, technically, and then 1 is in Boulder proper, and that's like their main site where like their offices and everything are. And they also offer 7 community garden sites throughout the county. And these are production farms. So they sell at a weekly farm stand as well as offer CSA membership. And both farms also grow food for donation directly to food pantries, and also members of their work trade program. So, in addition, the organization provides opportunities for learning with workshops, environmental ed, and summer camps, and they donate seeds and seedlings to community members. They operate a teen program where youth learn about careers in agriculture, and they run a goat dairy as well. And the farm is kind of referred to as a community farm, so folks are welcome to walk through the grounds of the farm and enjoy the space. Obviously, just as long as they're not in the fields without supervision, they can kind of use the space around the fields. And it's just right in the middle of a neighborhood, so it's kind of really accessible by the folks that live there, and just kind of a nice kind of separation from the city. So, Growing Gardens does operate as a nonprofit, and many urban farms do operate that way, but not all of them. Much of their funding does come from grants and donations, which means that in addition to farming, they also obviously have to deal with the whole philanthropic side of things as well. And our next example is Mountain View Meats in Fort Collins. And this farm operates as a para-urban ranch, which is just north of the city. And this is actually a family farm that has been passed down for generations. There's currently 3 generations who are working to operate the business. So it's kind of a cool way to see how that all works. And they specialize in producing premium beef for their community, which actually changed during the pandemic. So I was reading a little bit about their business, and they used to sell to major processors, but during the pandemic, they experienced some supply chain issues with one of their major buyers, and they transitioned to direct consumer sales just to keep their business running, and they just haven't turned back since then. So they also took the step to purchase and start operating their own processing facility up in Wyoming. And they use that so that they can kind of oversee all aspects of their production, which is pretty cool. And they sell in person at their farm store as well as online, and also accept SNAP and EBT, and offer free local delivery for their customers. All right. Our next example is the Rio Grande Farm Park in Alamosa. I thought this was a really interesting example of urban ag in a place that most people probably wouldn't consider urban. So this is a 38-acre community farm. They have both commercial and family farm plots. And the commercial plots are actually rented to members of their incubator program. I believe they have other plots that are not just for incubator program, but the incubator program helps beginning farmers learn what it takes to start their own ag business, kind of just get their start and their feet wet in agriculture. And their space is also open to the public to enjoy, kind of similar to Growing Gardens is. They host a summer farmers market and provide space just for the community to gather. And they partner with the Boys and Girls Club to provide environmental education and have event space that they run out. And the farm park runs in partnership with the San Luis Valley Local Foods Coalition. So this kind of helps support the different programs that they offer. And then for our last example, I just wanted to share a little bit about Paper Kite Farm, which is in Golden, Colorado. And this is a small, diversified vegetable farm. They only have 1 acre. And I visited this farm as part of a tour and learned from the farmer that her customers are primarily neighbors and other local community members who visit her weekly farm stand. But she also offers online ordering and bulk ordering for local businesses. And then her farm is operated as a for-profit business. She doesn't have any like nonprofit aspect to her work. It's just growing food and selling it. But she operates her farm in addition to working off the farm for additional income, which is common in a lot of different ag in general. So as you can see, lots of different ways you can kind of see how urban ag works. There's not one model to it, but all of this could be considered urban agriculture. So where do conservation districts fit in and how can they support? I'm just going to talk a little bit about relationships at first. So when I first started at Colorado Department of Ag, I really wanted to just understand the landscape of urban ag in Colorado. And one of the first things I did was I surveyed urban producers, conservation districts, and urban ag advocates from all around the state, just to try and understand what the needs are and what the current experience is. So many of you may have filled out this survey, so thank you so much if you were one of the folks that did. I did get a lot of responses, so I was super happy with that result. But in the survey with conservation districts, I asked about whether or not urban ag should be a responsibility of the districts. And many people said yes, but a lot of people didn't consider it a high priority, and many suggested that they don't currently have any specific programs that are targeted toward urban producers, which is totally fine. Like everyone's priorities are different, and it totally makes sense. But most respondents also stated that they are never or rarely contacted about urban ag projects, which kind of to me suggests that there might be a gap there, especially just because many districts have programs that offer technical assistance and support for farmers, and urban farmers within your district might benefit from these programs as well. And it's probably not anyone's fault. I think the gap could really just be a result of a general lack of marketing or outreach to urban farmers, a lack of knowledge about conservation district programs among urban farmers, or just simply a limited number of farms and gardens in the conservation district service area. So what are districts around the country doing to support urban producers? I have a few examples just from different states. So one from Indiana, one from Pennsylvania, and then another from right here in Colorado, who are basically working to provide some type of urban ag program. So the first one I have is from Indianapolis, Indiana, where the Marion County Soil and Water Conservation District is located. And they received a grant through the National Association of Conservation Districts Urban and Community Grant Program. And they basically serve as a partner for a local nonprofit in the area called Indy Urban Acres. And this farm actually serves as a demonstration site, a native plant nursery, and an educational space. So they hold workshops and trainings there, and they use it for community members as well as staff of both Indy Urban Acres, the farm, and then the Soil and Water Conservation District as well. So the partnership is kind of a win-win for both the district and the farm. The farm gets the support from the conservation district, and the district gets to use the site, make it their own, and also just help create it in a way that is beneficial for the district. And the farm seems to be a pretty cool space. I learned about this project when I was attending the NACD annual meeting. And they basically showed how the space evolved with the conservation district's help, basically from a strip of grass like next to the highway. And it is now like a whole native plant nursery and a way for the community to get locally grown food. So I thought that that was a pretty cool way that a district could help support an urban farm, and also get something out of it themselves. And then this one was from Pittsburgh, where the Allegheny County Conservation District is located. And they kind of serve as a resource for both urban and rural farmers. The district is kind of unique because they are comprised of both like the Pittsburgh metro area, which is like obviously a major city, and then also like the surrounding para-urban and rural lands, which are populated with horse and pig farms, which is kind of interesting. So they kind of get the best of both worlds. They get like these much larger, more traditional farms, as well as the urban lands that they kind of help support. So they actually started an urban soils program, which focuses on lead and contaminant research, as well as soil testing, outreach, and technical assistance for producers. And they utilize a machine called an X-ray fluorescence unit, which helps test for lead. And this machine is actually really expensive up front. They basically said I think they paid about $25,000 for this machine. I don't know where they got their funding from. I'm pretty sure it was probably through some type of grant. But it eventually pays for itself in soil testing, because these soil tests typically cost about $30 to get the like full contaminant panel, and it takes time to get the results. So the farmers are kind of sitting around waiting, like, can I grow on this land? Is it too contaminated? What does that look like? But with the X-ray fluorescence unit, they basically get the test results in 30 seconds, which makes it possible to accurately test like a bunch of different samples throughout the whole field. So one of the programs that they do is they go onto a farm and they'll grid out the whole field and kind of test, and then they get a whole map of like where exactly on the field their soil is contaminated. And then another program that they have is basically just like soil testing days. So like people can bring like a bucket of their soil and come and get their soil tested right then and there and get an understanding of what that looks like in their soil. And once the machine is purchased, after that big upfront cost, you really just have to pay for staff time. So that has worked out well for them, and it seems like they've been pretty happy with their purchase. So in addition to the soil testing, this district also provides expertise on resources for urban farmers, policy planning and networking, and then they've also developed an urban ag zoning guide for municipalities to support urban agriculture in their cities. So, a little closer to home, Jefferson Conservation District has also done some projects in the past in support of urban ag. They hired 3 interns, I believe this was in 2016, to lead on farm workshops and act as mentors for urban producers. So each intern also completed an urban ag project of their choosing, in addition to like their day-to-day work. And one of them picked a project on grazing management, another did a food distribution project, and then the third did a photo book on conservation practices that are relevant to urban agriculture. And that was like one 2016 project. And then they also did another project, I believe, in 2021, which they worked with GoFarm to start an equipment share program, which has been pretty beneficial for urban producers, especially when you have such a small space. You don't always have the space to store different equipment, or it doesn't quite make sense to buy a whole, piece of equipment if you're only going to use it on a small field. So that can be kind of beneficial. And then they also completed some research on land access for urban growers in Jefferson County. And land access is one major issue in urban agriculture. So, what can you do if you want to get involved and support more urban growers at your district? So, we know this is a time where budgets might be tight. You might have to kind of prioritize certain things, but we also think conservation districts are uniquely positioned as locally led entities, and you can really help support urban growers on the ground, maybe better than I can since I'm just one person for the whole state. But and I totally understand that it might not make sense to start a whole new urban ag program right now. But that said, you can simply do what you're already doing and help support urban growers with the work that you're already completing. So, working on outreach and engagement efforts within the urban ag community can be super beneficial. One place to look are local food policy councils or young and beginning farmers coalitions. Oftentimes urban growers are active members there. Inviting folks to meetings and local work groups and different things can also be really beneficial, just kind of getting them engaged and involved. And then the existing programs you have, like I mentioned, can really still benefit urban growers just as much as they can benefit traditional growers. They're really the same thing. They're just kind of operating on a different scale and in a different way. So maybe your program might need a slight modification for their size and goals, but that said, they can still be of great benefit. And I think most of all, the best thing you can really do is just act as a resource. You're all experts in what you do. I see it every day. And urban growers might just not know that you have resources available for them. So just feel free to help them use you as a resource. I think that would be super beneficial. And it costs nothing. So that's really all I had for today. I guess it was a little quicker than I thought it would be. But I don't know if anyone has any questions. I'm happy to answer.
I don't see any questions in the chat. Anybody want to come off mute and ask anything?
Raquel, it's Penny.
Hi, Penny.
Hey, I do have a question. Do you have any grant funding available through the Urban Ag program to support what you're asking of the districts, or
So
is there?
good questions. So we don't have any funding right now. That's something that we're looking into in the future. And definitely something that we've considered, like how can we support districts who do want to get involved in this? And one of excuse me, one of the things that we had looked at was that NACD grant that a couple of those other districts had applied for. Unfortunately, that grant is on pause right now due to some funding limitations, but definitely something that we're considering for the future. So we'll definitely keep you updated if that's something that we can find funding for. And sorry, I cut you off. I don't know if you had more to your question.
No, that was it. You answered it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And as soon as we hear of any opportunities, we'll make sure that we send it out to everybody. Are there any other questions? Well, good. This was a short but sweet coffee hour. And so I thank you all for joining us. If you end up coming up with any questions, just shoot me an email or I can get you in touch with Emma. I'm going to stop recording.